Hello and welcome to this special segment about the DeSoto ISD International Baccalaureate programs. Joining me today are Ms. Jennifer Cowan, the International Baccalaureate Coordinator.
Hi.
Ms. Debbie Garner, she's the Executive Director of Innovative Programs for DeSoto ISD. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
DeAndrea Kidd, one of our students in the IB program at DeSoto High School. Thank you. And Ms. Sarah Reese, also a student with DeSoto High School in the IB program. Thank you all for joining us today.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Well, let's get right into it. The International Baccalaureate program is a little bit unique. So tell me an overview of the IB philosophy and the benefits of being in an IB program over similar programs.
The IB philosophy is that, the IB program actually offers just a good, solid, rigorous education. For years, we've been talking about adding rigor to our instruction, and IB answers that call for rigor. The students are in challenging courses. They're in university-level courses at the high school level. These courses have an international focus. These courses are advanced in the area of college readiness, and they're getting students prepared for the next step. We want our students to leave DeSoto High School prepared for college and university, and the IB answers that call. Now, the IB program has benefits over other programs, being that it gets the students ready. We don't actually focus so much on getting the college credits while you're in high school. However, they do have the opportunity to get college credit. We want to make sure that they're college ready. Many of our kids leave DeSoto High School and they go to college. They go on scholarships. However, that first semester that they're in college, they have to take, oftentimes they have to take developmental classes. They find that they're not exactly as prepared as their grades suggested they were. So we want as many students as possible to be not just college ready, but I call it university ready when they leave DeSoto High School.
Tell me a little bit about our current cohort. How many students are currently in the IB program at DeSoto High School, and what grades do they enter into the program?
We have 95 students right now in the high school diploma program. They enter the diploma program at the 11th grade year.
Okay.
And I have found that I want to make sure that when these students come in at the 11th grade year, that they are prepared, very, very well prepared. So we're looking at generating a cohort of students to come in at the 9th grade level so that they can take what I call pre-IB courses that will get them better prepared at the junior level.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. Well, let's hear from some of our students today. Now, ladies, tell me a little bit about these benefits from the IB program from a student's perspective.
Well, one benefit I will say is that it prepares you for college, like Ms. Cowan said, especially when it comes to study habits and time management. Those things are very important to have in the college, especially with how rigorous the courses are. You need to study, and you need to make sure that you know what you're being taught, and you have to make sure that you retain that information.
Fantastic.
Great, yeah. Another good thing about IB is it is international. So you don't have a specific mindset. You learn to have a world mindset instead of just focusing on one area of the world. And it's just really great. You're able to understand more.
Fantastic. Thank you very much for that input. Back to you, Ms. Cowan. Tell me a little bit about the factors that you're looking for. We have some fantastic candidates here, obviously,
We do.
Students in your program. What factors do you look for when you are looking for a candidate?
Well, I like to start with what we're not necessarily looking for. We're not exactly looking for the student that's in the top 5%. We want the student to be a strong academic candidate. However, I look at other things. I look at disciplinary records, I look at attendance records, and then I look at grades, because I want the student to have, I guess, a strong work ethic, have the ability to persevere. When the courses get a little rough, because the courses will be more rigorous than what they may have experienced in the past. So I don't want anyone to think that you have to be, in the top 10 of your high school class, but you do have to be a student that is willing to work and that has demonstrated that they have the ability to do work in advanced academic classes.
Would it be fair to say you're looking for a student that maybe has a more holistic approach?
Yes. IB is very holistic in its philosophy. They're looking at the total student, not just the academic areas. They're looking at the mental, social, just the entire student, and wanting to develop that person that will be successful in college. I feel that students that are the most successful in college have an array of skills. You have study skills, you have social skills, you know how to get along, you know how to take care of yourself physically, you know how to monitor your study habits, know when you need to study more, make proper decisions and be problem solvers. Those are the type of students we're looking for.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. All right, ladies, we've talked a little bit about the rigor.
Yes, ma'am.
Tell me a little bit about how these very rigorous IB classes differ from your traditional high school classes.
I tend to have more homework in IB, but that really helps us actually. And most kids, they think, oh, well, I don't like homework. I feel like if I could do it in class,
Mhm.
shouldn't have to take it home to do it. But when you
Right.
do have a lot of homework, that prepares you to, for the next class. So, and it also gives you more time to go over what you learned in class.
All right. Sarah, what would you add to that about the rigor and tell me a little bit about how it prepares you for college, university level. These classes are extremely, there's a level of high motivation that a student has to take to prepare for these classes and to excel in these classes. Tell me a little bit about that.
Right. So as we all know, it's around the time where you take tests. It always is. So you really have to study hard. And I've noticed that throughout this whole semester, I've had about 2 to 3 hours of homework not each night, but every other night. And it's more of me having to go over my work and make sure I understand the concepts. Because I may have it in class, but when I go home and I review it, I may understand something and not understand something about the problem, and I will have to go back to my teacher and discuss it with them so that way I understand, so that way I am prepared to go to class. And that's sort of a mindset that people are going to have if they want to be successful in college, IB, anything, because if you don't ask questions, you're not going to get to go where you need to go.
I think that's fantastic. It very much sounds like college level classes because I remember those days. Ms. Cowan, tell me a little bit about the program. There's some new elements to it this year. There's something new regarding the program itself?
Yes, this year we are planning to incorporate the 9th grade into the IB program. The IB diploma program, which is what we're offering at the high school, is exclusively for 11th and 12th graders. Students come in at the junior year. However, I found that many of the students haven't had classes that they needed or developed study skills that they needed to be as successful as possible in the 11th grade coursework. So I'm looking at these situations, saying what can we do to make this new cohort more successful, and I feel that we need to bring them in at an earlier age, prepare them, because I offer things like supplemental tutoring to the students. We have access to computers. There's a lot of supplemental things that I've had to do to build up their capacity to be successful in these classes. So I feel that if I secure the students in the program at an earlier age, they'll be better prepared and more successful at the 11th grade year.
That's fantastic. Now, I know the high school program is the diploma program.
Yes.
And that's something that we are actually already an accredited IB World School.
Exactly.
But tell me a little bit about the 2 lower grade programs that we're currently in the candidacy phase.
Okay, great. At West Middle School, we're in candidacy for the middle years program, and at Cockrell Hill Elementary, we're in candidacy for the primary years program of IB. So we have an April 1st deadline to request authorization for those 2 campuses. Now, the difference between the 3, the high school operates as a school within a school. So you have a cohort of students that are involved in IB, in the IB diploma program. However, at West and Cockrell Hill, the whole campuses will be IB campuses.
Okay.
Every student will be involved in IB. So it's a little bit different process. And what's really great about that, and how it's really going to benefit the students of DeSoto, is that eventually, once we get these 2 campuses authorized, we'll have a continuum of education in IB. So you can have a student that will start IB at the kindergarten level, and then progress through middle school and high school. And of course, that student will be the most prepared for the diploma program when they get to the high school.
That's fantastic. It sounds like a great continuum for a student
Yes.
to take the IB program from, like you mentioned, from kindergarten straight through graduation, and really be prepared for university level courses afterwards.
Exactly.
The students this year, how are they performing academically in your current cohort?
Well, about a fourth of them are on A or AB honor roll.
Mhm.
So I'm extremely excited about that. About 2/4 of them they have some A's, some B's, maybe a sprinkling of C's. So I would say that 3/4 of the students are excelling in this course of study. Of course, I do have some that weren't as prepared as we originally thought. They are struggling a little bit academically. However, we are offering supports for those students, and many of them, even in the fact that they're making C's for the first time, they're still finding that their learning capacity has increased. And I tell my students all the time, this is probably something they could quote me on, but I tell them, all A's aren't created equal.
Right.
Just because you've always gotten A's doesn't mean that you have mastered that content. So what they're finding is that this year I'm studying more. I've had students tell me, I've never had to study like this in my life.
Right.
And some of those students that are saying that, they aren't necessarily making A's, but their C is even an indicator of the amount of content, new content that they've learned. So, and that's the bottom line,
Well,
actually.
and it sounds like the depth and the rigor
Exactly.
is a different level that maybe they than they aren't maybe quite used to in some of their classes. Even on some of our current AP programs, the IB program has a little bit different of an angle to it with the worldview that I think takes them to a different depth.
Exactly. Well, our students have to really have to be able to compete against not just students here in Texas or students in the DFW area. However, they have to be able to compete with students outside of Texas and various parts of the United States, and even with students across the world. So we want to provide them a world-class education. That's our goal here at DeSoto ISD.
All right. Well, thank you very much. Now, ladies, you mentioned the AB honor roll.
Of course.
Sarah, how are you feeling this year about it? I know she mentioned there's some folks that are getting a C for the first time because it is a different depth
Right.
level. How are you feeling about this year's academics?
I've worked really hard for all of my grades this year,
Mhm.
and I'm going to share some personal information. In my math class, I've been working so hard, and I made a C. And actually, I failed the exam, to be completely honest, and I thought I knew everything on there. And, I averaged out to a low C, but I knew that I worked hard for it, and that's all I could think about. I was like, I sit here, I came to tutoring as much as I could with my schedule, and I was working hard. I studied my notes. I took extremes amount of notes. I had like 3 different journals, and, I was helping students. I was tutoring students, and even though I didn't make a grade that's good to me on my level, I know that I did improve in my study habits and the way my work ethic is.
All right. How are you doing this year?
Actually, I just got pretty caught up with the rigor. I can handle it
Gotcha.
now. Actually, I did make the AB honor roll recently.
All right. Congratulations.
Thank
Congratulations.
you. And that's another thing. You feel proud of yourself when you feel like, wow, I finally put in all of this work for this,
Right.
and I got the grade that I worked for.
That's fantastic. Congratulations. Tell me a little bit about some of the activities. Now we've talked about the rigor in the classroom, and we've talked a little bit about the philosophy of it. What do you guys do? What do you do as a cohort, maybe outside of the school part of IB?
Well, we recently took a trip to Denver for
Oh,
the IB Student World Conference, and that was amazing. I had a blast. Me and Sarah both went, and we got to interact with students from all over the world. It was an international conference, and my roommate, we stayed on campus for a weekend. My roommate, she was from Chicago.
Okay.
And I was able to bond with her, actually, and I never would have imagined that, I would be able to bond with somebody in that short amount of time,
Right.
but I did. And one thing that we had in common was music. You know, she was a dancer and I was a singer, so that was very fun to do. And we had conferences on campus, and we got to sit in conferences and listen to speakers come and talk to us about their affiliation with the food industry.
Okay,
Yeah, so that was an amazing
amazing.
experience.
What are
Yeah.
some other things along with the Denver trip?
Along with the Denver trip, actually, since she shared her roommate information, my roommate was actually from Japan.
Oh,
And
fantastic.
it was very interesting to meet her, and she was not the stereotype that I knew, so I was so surprised. And, you know, it was great. She had some American habits and I wasn't aware of. I was like, whoa, wow. And, you know, she brought me some Japanese food, and it was insane. I was like, wow, this is so cool. So,
That's amazing.
yeah.
It's amazing that you guys get to experience that. So we're going to wrap up a little bit here, but Ms. Garner, tell me a little bit about the application process for the IB program here in DeSoto ISD.
Okay, thank you. Well, the application will be coming out on December 19th, not just for IB, but any program within the district. IB definitely will be open on December 19th. It will close on January 30th. So if you have a student at home that is inquisitive, an independent thinker, willing to explore local and global contexts, IB is the program for you. So we welcome all of you to visit the DeSoto ISD website. There should be a button on the mainframe. Click on it, choose IB, and apply.
All righty. Well, I want to thank you all for joining us today for this panel. I want to thank our audience for viewing us today. Learned a little bit more about our IB program here in DeSoto ISD. Thank you.